Boy, did the 49ers look good on Thanksgiving night. This is the morning after Black Friday. Many people probably out shopping. That might mean that you've got your headphones in or you're driving around and you got the show coming across the speakers. So this is the morning after the 49ers just worked the Seahawks. Came in there and totally outclassed them. That's, the takeaway 12 hours after you sit here and you realize this kind of stuff isn't supposed to happen at the NFL level. The 49ers in their 8 wins this year, that's the stretch of time or the 2 stretches of time that they've been healthy. They've won by an average of 20 points. Last night on a short week, they went into their rival's house and won by 18. They're up 24-3 at halftime. They had a little bit of a lapse, and most of it was bad luck, right? I mean, it was a tipped interception that went right to Jordan Brooks. It's not like Seattle openly forced that takeaway, turned into a pick six. The 49ers defense didn't give up a single touchdown in this game on the other side of the ball. So the 49ers suffered through a little bit of bad luck. It was your one inaccurate Purdy gimme throw of the season, probably. I can't really think of another one that was at that close range that he didn't hit perfectly in stride. And all that did was allow Seattle to get on the path to cut the lead to 11. The closest they got was 11. This is a league of the best talent in the world, and the other team, a division rival, can only get within 11 points of you. I mean, and they're down 24-3 at halftime. The 49ers are doing absolutely dominant stuff. I wrote about everything on The Athletic. This is kind of an overarching look. It's up now. Boy, Seattle's uniforms were hideous. I mean, it was one classy looking team against one. I mean, it just looks like they threw up all over themselves with that neon green. You have one traditional uniform and one expansion team, and that's what it looked like on the field. It looked like an established powerhouse against an expansion team. Everybody was hyping Seattle up as the team with all these exciting young cornerbacks. They're going to give the 49ers a ton of trouble in coverage. Those corners couldn't cover. They benched Tariq Woolen, and Devin Witherspoon played just a game without a trace of physicality. Actually, I'll give him some credit. Nice shoestring tackle of Deebo Samuel in the second half in the backfield. That was after he wouldn't fight through a block of Jawan Jennings, after he couldn't drag down Jawan Jennings, who rumbled for that first down on 3rd and long. The Seattle defensive backs couldn't handle Christian McCaffrey as he dragged multiple players into the end zone for that touchdown, his second. And then he also bowled over Draymond Jones, a defensive lineman, for his first touchdown. This is a physical sport. It's tackle football. And, I mean, the 49ers have outclassed many opponents in terms of being able to win that physical battle, but it typically is harder to do within your division. They completely pulverized Seattle last night. This game wasn't close. It was a rout, and it was yet another announcement that the 49ers are Super Bowl favorites. The Seahawks are not in the same weight class as them. And the great news for the 49ers is that they get to play the Seahawks again in 2 games. And based on what we saw last night, this is not a fair fight between these two teams. Now, also, you have to zoom out even further and develop an appreciation for going on the road in Seattle and winning in such a dominant fashion. It's the first time in 49ers franchise history that they've beaten Seattle twice in a row up there. So that's, I mean, those of you who saw this team play in the Harbaugh era, because that obviously was the first era where the 49ers had a good team while Seattle was in the NFC West. Those of you who saw that and saw the house of horrors that stadium was, you understand how significant it is to go in there, jump out to a 24-3 lead, and then just completely choke the life out of the Seahawks and win 31-13. One big thing that I talked about extensively in this article is the 49ers' control of explosive plays. Actually, here, I could put it back up on the screen because I'm looking for just a little statistical supplement to this. I tweeted this, and I think that it's going to be perfect to share on the screen for you. Explosive plays can be the difference, and usually are the difference in the National Football League, because Again, everybody theoretically is good. You have the best players in the world. So when that's the case, a lot of the times games outside of the explosives, and I'm talking about explosive passes in specific right now, games outside of those explosives are played to a relative draw. It's the big punches. Can you land the big punches or avoid the big punches on the defensive side of the ball? Those typically are going to determine winners and losers in this league. Well, the 49ers, in terms of explosive control yesterday, perpetuated a season-long trend that is, to me, astonishing and probably historic. I'm going to be able to do more research on this going back to other teams in the NFL history this week, but I already did some in the article. Take a look at the 49ers' explosive pass rate on offense. That's the percentage of plays that gain at least 20 yards. The 49ers are at the top of the heap, 21.4%. Over 21% of the 49ers' pass plays turn into explosive plays. That's an extremely high amount. I'll put that in further context in a bit. They're above the Texans and the Dolphins. What's really cool is that you could see that the Shanahan lieutenants, Bobby Slowick, OC of the Texans, and Mike McDaniel, who calls plays for the Dolphins, it's all the Shanahan guys, Shanahan, Slowick, and McDaniel, who are on top of the heap as far as explosive plays. But what makes this even more staggering is that defensively, the 49ers aren't allowing explosive plays. The 49ers defense had a couple bad games, especially against the pass, against Minnesota and Baltimore. But over the past 2 weeks against, 3 weeks now, you have Jacksonville, then you had Tampa Bay, and now you have Seattle. The 49ers are not letting up anything downfield. They allowed one pass of over 20 yards to a receiver, and it was the diving catch by Jackson Smith-Njigba. That was against Deommodore Lenoir. But the way that the 49ers covered downfield yesterday, especially from Charvarius Ward, but also from Ambry Thomas and also from Deommodore Lenoir, that is the kind of play that gets you onto this list. So the 49ers are number one in explosive pass rate on offense, and they're closing in on the Ravens to be number one in explosive pass rate allowed on defense. I don't think we've ever seen an NFL team lead in both of these categories, but that just shows you how complete and dominant the 49ers are. So this is why they're Super Bowl favorites. There are many reasons, but this is near the top of it, and yesterday was a great example of why. As far as the explosive pass rate on offense goes, the 49ers are the highest they've ever been in the Shanahan era. They actually led the league in 2021, and that was at about 18.8%. So it's a more explosive season across the top of the NFL this season, and the 49ers are leading again. But this is the highest number that we've seen since the 2013 Eagles, and it's about the same as the greatest show on turf Rams, who are at like 21% one year and 22.5% the other year. So what the 49ers are doing, what Brock Purdy and this offense is doing with Kyle Shanahan as the head coach, is like what Kurt Warner, Mike Martz, and the greatest show on turf Rams were doing in terms of explosive play rate. Defensively, take one more look at this. The 49ers last year, when they had the number one defense in football, were giving up 12.4% explosive rate. They've cut that to 8.1% this year. This is about the same as the 2019 49ers, who had what people will allege is the best defense of the Shanahan era. I think it was definitely the most intimidating defense. They didn't give up the big plays downfield thanks to, in large part, to that pass rush. That was 7.9% in 2019. Now the 49ers are at 8.1% and improving. So what you have with the 2023 49ers right now is an offense that's like the greatest show on turf Rams paired with a defense that's like the 2019 49ers. That's the perspective that you need. Remember in 2019, the 49ers had a great defense, and they had a good offense, right? They were probably, number 6, number 7 DVOA offensively. It was a good but not great offense. Everybody was saying, not everybody was saying this, and it was almost unrealistic to actually expect this, but I'll pose the question. What if the 49ers paired that great defense with a historically good offense? Well, that's what you have right now. You have the most explosive offense in the league paired with what I think might end up as the best and most explosive defense in the league. And it's starting with dominance at the line of scrimmage defensively, but the coverage yesterday was really damn good too. I mean, to have a dominant defense, rush and coverage both have to work together, and the 49ers obviously saw that. But I mean, the reason I wrote this piece, I wanted to cover both sides of the football. The 49ers are controlling the big punches. They're like Muhammad Ali, dodging them, but they're also landing the haymakers. And obviously, the Brock Purdy to Brandon Ayuk throw was sensational. It reminded me a lot, and I'm going to go into this when we look at the tape this week. It reminded me a lot of Steve Young to Terrell Owens against the Packers in the playoffs, but in a lot less desperate situation. So probably you give even more credit to Brock Purdy for his aggressiveness on that type of throw. It was a deep zone coverage where the safe play, the usual play from almost any NFL quarterback would have been to go underneath. Get a nice 12-yard gain, you're up in the game, whatever. But Brock Purdy has an arrogance on the field to him that is extremely, extremely productive for his quarterbacking efficiency. He's got this moxie to him to where he doesn't care if he's going to get hit. And this year he's manipulating the pocket in a way that he wasn't as a rookie. But right tackle got beaten on that play. Colton McKivitz got beaten cleanly by Boye Mafe, and Purdy still hung in there, edged away a little bit, and then just delivered a complete strike into a zone coverage with four defenders deep. I mean, there's a little pocket behind the safety in front of the corner. Found Brandon Ayuk with a perfect throw while getting drilled. That was a lot like Steve Young's perfect throw to Terrell Owens against the Packers with 3 seconds left in the January 1999 wild card playoff game. That obviously was a Hall of Fame throw from Steve Young. This yesterday was a Hall of Fame throw from Brock Purdy. Definitely an MVP caliber throw, and this is why Brock Purdy is in that MVP discussion. He's not the favorite right now. He should be. I mean, by any objective metric, he's been the best quarterback in the league. He should be the favorite, but that's why the Philadelphia milestone exists. Jalen Hurts threw for like 150 yards, was a sloppy game against Kansas City. Won more because the Kansas City receivers couldn't catch the ball on the other end and because of anything that he did. Yet, so much of the media and everything goes out and crowns him as the MVP after a game like that. Is it fair to Brock Purdy? Of course it's not. But this stuff tends to have a way of playing itself out. And the 49ers happen to be going to Philadelphia in their very next game. Now, remember that the Eagles play the Bills before that. So there's two things going on here. A, the 49ers have their only rest advantage of the season. They're going to have more rest heading into this game at Philly than the Eagles will have. And that's a big deal because the rest of the 49ers season is filled with rest disadvantages. But B, if the Bills are able to beat the Eagles, the 49ers will be in position to surpass the Eagles with a win in Philadelphia, which would not only mean revenge for what happened last year in the NFC Championship game with that Brock Purdy injury, but it would also be a chance for the national narrative to completely change. If Brock Purdy goes into Philadelphia and does what the 49ers are obviously capable of because they are the best team in football, they're better than the Eagles this year. If Brock Purdy goes and does that, objectively speaking, we have all the numbers, then he will be suddenly the MVP favorite. He will overtake Jalen Hurts for that MVP lead discussion. That's going to happen. So the 49ers have everything in front of them. You shouldn't worry about that. That will all take care of itself. What we do need to emphasize right now, though, is that the 49ers, based on their body of work this year, are the best team in football. Now they need to keep that up. They need to perpetuate that. They need to go prove that they can show that against Philadelphia on the road. That's going to be one of the more hostile environments. But listen to this. The 49ers, when they've been healthy this year, have gone 8-0 and won games by an average of 20 points. That's not supposed to happen in this league, and that is happening in this league. So the plan for the coverage today is that we're going to go through a little bit of everything. We're going to take a look. I want to take a long look at Ambry Thomas, who showed up and played very physically yesterday. The interception when he was covering Tyler Lockett awesome stuff from Ambry Thomas. I think we need to delve further into Christian McCaffrey. He's a player that I didn't write as much about in this piece because I was just talking about the explosives, but somebody who's there with complementary football to set up the explosives with his rushing ability, his receiving ability, his threat at all times. That's Christian McCaffrey. Talk about a tone setter just barreling over the Seahawks into the end zone. He truly is special. I think we need to talk about Deebo Samuel today. Some of the explosive passes early when the 49ers were running past to set up the run in this game, it's Deebo making those big catches downfield. Just his presence out on the field is a huge deal. It's a gravitational pull, kind of like Christian McCaffrey. The 49ers have a lot of gravitational pulls out there, which is why they're operating with so much space offensively and why Brock Purdy is then distributing the football in such an efficient fashion, right? I mean, Purdy, he is sitting at the wheel of a Ferrari. And this is a finely tuned machine. And he's a very, very skilled race car driver. We'll put it that way. The 49ers, when they are flexing their muscles at full strength, it's a juggernaut that may be like a juggernaut we've never seen before offensively. I showed you the numbers. I've showed you the comparison to the greatest show on turf, Rams. We don't have some of the advanced numbers that go back much further than that, unfortunately, but we're probably going to have to start making some of those comparisons because when the 49ers offenses under Shanahan of the 1990s with Steve Young were humming at full cylinders, Ricky Waters is the running back coming out of the backfield. Young, obviously, able to move the needle with his legs as well. I think we're seeing a lot of similar stuff to right now. So, obviously, we got to talk about Samuel. We got to talk about McCaffrey. We have to talk about Purdy and the fantastic game that he again played. Overcame the one mistake that, again, I'll go back to that. I think people just don't really understand the game as far as what's lucky, what's unlucky, sometimes there's going to be chaotic variance in football. Sometimes a ball's going to bounce off of your receiver's hands, and it was Christian McCaffrey, the receiver in this one case, and it will fall very unfortunately for you to a linebacker who's just standing there, and he'll be able to take it back for an interception, for a touchdown. He'll be able to take that pick for a touchdown. That happened to Purdy yesterday because he was a little bit off on a throw over the middle to Christian McCaffrey. Kyle Shanahan actually blamed himself for that. He said they didn't set Brock Purdy up well on that play. He said that a better play call would have had Brock Purdy be able to deliver a more sustainable outlet pass. Unfortunately, you don't always line up in the perfect play call. That time they didn't, and Purdy's throw wasn't on the money. McCaffrey didn't knock it down. He knocked it up in the air, and it was a pick six. That was the one blemish from Brock Purdy. This guy is playing week in, week out, nearly perfect games. Literally a perfect game the week before against Tampa Bay, right, with the 158.3 rating. Purdy is going through games without making a single mistake or making just one mistake, which is unheard of at this level of football. For that reason, he's the top-rated quarterback in the game. He's by far the most efficient quarterback in the game. That's one of the main reasons why the 49ers jumped out to a 24-3 lead. And again, one of the main reasons why they won 31-13. QB is where it all starts. Purdy is playing sensationally well. And any suggestion to the opposite is just not rooted in reality. It's either a red herring or one of those I don't know football kind of statements, or it's a downright lie. So let's pump the brakes on any unreasonable criticism of Brock Purdy because it, again, is not warranted after that performance yesterday. We also have to talk about the 49ers defense, the dominance that they are showcasing at the line of scrimmage. This is something that I think is rooted in their stoppage of the run. Seattle was not able to run the football yesterday. And you know me, I was talking all season about the 49ers' struggles against the run and how that was bleeding over into problems rushing the passer and on pass defense. Well, the Seattle Seahawks were at 21 carries for 88 yards yesterday. Take away the 4 for 21 from Geno Smith. I'm going to do some quick napkin math, but it's going to be mental napkin math. That's 67 yards on 17 carries. Perfect for the 49ers. Just over 3 yards a carry for Seattle. That's 3 straight opponents that the 49ers have been able to snuff out the standard run. Tampa Bay was able to run some gadget plays against the 49ers. We saw Geno Smith pick up a couple first downs with his legs. But Zach Charbonnet, 14 carries, 47 yards, hardly anything for this Seattle team. And because of that, the 49ers were able to get on their toes, pin their ears back, rush the passer, and the entire pocket was collapsing on Geno Smith. It wasn't just Nick Bosa. It wasn't just Chase Young. It was all of them. It was Bosa, Armstead, Hargrave, Chase Young, and Cleveland Farrell was getting into the quarterback too. The pressure numbers when they come out and when I go through them a little bit later today and the grades are going to be downright impressive for the 49ers. This is one of the most talented defensive lines ever assembled, right? When you got Chase Young opposite Bosa, then you have Eric Armstead coming off a 13 pressure game against Tampa Bay, and then you have Javon Hargrave roaring up the middle. He's one of the top 3 or 4 defensive tackles pass rushing wise in football. A guy like Randy Gregory, who I saw pancake the tackle yesterday, is almost an afterthought. And Randy Gregory played a really good football game. So when you have one of the most talented defensive lines in history, and now they're stopping the run too, because the 49ers have made those adjustments. They're setting better edges. I think that adding Gregory, adding Chase Young has helped in that regard. Now those guys can have some fun, and they're having a ton of fun. It's to the point where they're not sure what their stats are. And Nick Bosa was joking about this when they enter the locker room, because there is just so much pressure coming from all angles that everybody is just meeting at the quarterback. It's this big summit at the quarterback. It's just a mess. And then the official scorekeeper probably has a difficult job of sorting through, okay, half a sack goes to him, half a sack goes to him. That's a good problem to have. It's not just about, oh, we got to fix this and double team Nick Bosa. No, because everybody is rupturing the dam and getting pressure. And then Fred Warner is playing at a defensive player of the year level behind that front. Dre Greenlaw seems healthy again. You know who we didn't hear from in general yesterday, which is wildly impressive? Just 4 days after the Talanoa Hufanga injury? Jair Brown, the rookie safety. I mean, he filled in seamlessly. He missed one tackle on Zach Charbonnet in the fourth quarter. They allowed Seattle to get a little bit of life on a drive. But no busts in coverage from Jair Brown. He's fitting perfectly within the defensive structure. Deshaun Gibson was good again. And then the 49ers corners have taken their play to another level. Charvarius Ward, that was a top 5 corner game. Charvarius Ward, and this is going to be fascinating to me to dig a little bit further into this, because he said in the locker room that the plan was not for him to shadow, like follow DK Metcalf around in man coverage for both sides of the formation. But supposedly Kyle Shanahan intervened and said, wait, you're not going to shadow DK? That needs to change. You did it last year. You're going to have to do it this year. This is speculation on my part, but because this is what Charvarius Ward said. So I'm basing it on what he said. But when we go back to how the 49ers defense righted the ship coming out of the bye week, I do wonder if, some of what the 49ers were able to do from a fixing the coverage perspective was Kyle Shanahan. And we talked about this a lot of the bye week. Kyle Shanahan telling Steve Wilks, hey, come down to the field. We need to run stuff the way that we ran it when this was the top defense in the league last year. So Shanahan wanted Wilks to continue sprinkling in his own English onto some of these coverages, but Kyle Shanahan also wanted the control and wanted the familiarity of the defensive coordinator on the sideline so that he could make sure that the 49ers are executing the formula that had taken them to number 1 heights defensively before. And based on what Mooney Ward said in the locker room yesterday, where he said the initial plan wasn't for him to trail Metcalf, but that Shanahan said, wait, no, you're going to be trailing Metcalf. Well, to me, that's a direct indication of the 49ers and their head coach, who's been around for a while, scrapped whatever plan there was and said, we're going back to what worked last year. And boy, did it work in this game. It's 2 straight years on Thursday night that Charvarius Ward has completely owned DK Metcalf. Perfect technique, especially on those go balls. And again, the proof ends up being in the pudding. Look at this. This is the explosive play rate generated and the explosive play rate allowed. The 49ers are generating explosives at the same level as the greatest show on turf Rams, and they're allowing explosives at the same rate as their own 2019 defense. It is elite stacked on to elite. So Seattle never had a chance against an offense and a defense that were this good for the 49ers unless their special teams performed a miracle. And on that first kick return, D. Eskridge, it looked like he might perform a miracle. And it looked like it might be another one of those Seattle games. Special teams equalizing against the 49ers. And then Darrell Luter Jr., 49ers rookie, came from the opposite side of the formation, sprinted down the kick returner. One of the most impressive athletic exhibitions that you'll see. If Luter is that fast, and those strides looked long, and he's not small either. He's a physical player. That looks like a player who's going to have a career for the 49ers, not just on special teams. If Darrell Luter's technique is half good, with those physical tools, 49ers have themselves a dude on the back end. That was impressive from Darrell Luter Jr. And we talk about the fact that Seattle had a chance to equalize this game with their special teams unit. Well, Darrell Luter Jr. helped mask a big 49ers kick coverage error the week after they gave up the big punt return. Seattle was number 5 in special teams. The 49ers came in at number 25. And after that, every single critical special teams play went in the 49ers direction. So they dominated all 3 phases of this. They dominated offense, they dominated defense, and after that first kick return, they dominated special teams. Moody made his field goal. That was great. Seattle missed their field goal at the end of the first half. That was also big. But how about the punt muffs in this game? DJ Dallas, one of the worst plays you'll ever see for Seattle, tried to muff the punt, then got up before trying to pick up the fumble. And because of that, the 49ers recovered. I think Ronnie Bell actually might have fallen on that one. But then when the 49ers muffed the punt with Ray McLeod, it was Oren Burks who was Johnny on the spot on a really difficult recovery, making the play. So the 49ers made these small plays on special teams that you rarely see them make against Seattle. And because of that, complementary football was in full effect. Offense, defense, special teams, all 3 phases dominated the Seahawks. All right, let's go. Quick Q&A here in the morning before I'm going to scoot this up there. Now I'm in the middle. You need to be in the middle of the shot. It looks a lot better. Yeah, before I have to go get some breakfast here. CJ Gray says, getting Oliver off the field was huge. Well, against the shiftier guys, and yesterday you saw Jackson Smith, Najigba in the slot. You don't want Isaiah Oliver out there. So I think Oliver might still have a role on this team. I keep on saying it. Whenever they face a tight end, hell, Oliver might be a good weapon against the Travis Kelce if the 49ers match up with the Chiefs in a Super Bowl, right? So I think there is value. It's a luxury to have a cover guy that's bigger like Oliver, but it's also a little bit of a liability if you don't have anybody else to cover some of these shiftier slot receivers. There's nothing worrying about Purdy and the brace on the sideline. That's a warming sleeve. It was the first truly cold game for the 49ers. The temperature was in the 30s, so you don't want his arm to go stale. So you have medical technology now to make sure that doesn't happen. Wilkes the credit for Ambry's outbreak. I mean, Wilkes is a good hands-on defensive backs coach. So I would give Daniel Bullock's credit. I'd give Ambry Thomas credit. I'd give Steve Wilkes credit. I'd give everybody credit. The protection was not great for Brock Purdy yesterday. And Purdy has delivered what he's done so far this year with below average protection. I mean, the one most staggering graph for Brock Purdy is the one that I'm about to pull up right now. This is what I used to preview the game. If I could even get this open, I might not be able to right now. But yeah, I mean, the touchdown pass yesterday from Purdy to Brandon Ayuk, that came on a clean beat of Colton McKivitz. Boye Mafe roared around Colton McKivitz and drilled Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is a unique quarterback this year in the NFL in that he's delivering elite efficiency behind below average pass protection. From the very first drive, first play, I saw John Feliciano get beat inside at right guard. We'll get the pressure numbers in a little bit, and of course, I'll go through them. But Feliciano got beaten. Purdy still found McCaffrey over the middle. McKivitz got beat. Purdy still found Brandon Ayuk for the touchdown. Brock Purdy is a cheat code. Brock Purdy is the system. I mean, Brock Purdy is what makes this work without great pass protection. He is an elite quarterback in the National Football League. He's an MVP frontrunner, all these things. And I think the main piece of data, the main piece of evidence is how well he performs despite the pass protection not being good for the 49ers. Nice. Have people making it out to the Pink Onion for pizza in San Francisco. Good spot. I got to try the vodka pasta. I haven't been there. What are the keys for the 49ers to beat the Eagles? Well, let's watch the Eagles play the Bills first on Sunday. But if the 49ers just play to serve, if they deliver explosives and limit explosives, the 49ers will beat Philadelphia. I think this is probably the biggest key. Deliver the explosives, limit the explosives. And if Brock Purdy continues playing the way that he does, then he's going to neutralize a lot of disadvantages the 49ers have along the offensive line. Yes, this is the best way to put it. Brock Purdy has unlocked the potential of Kyle Shanahan's schemes and system. Jimmy Garoppolo was a good quarterback for the 49ers. Brock Purdy is a great /elite /MVP caliber QB for the 49ers. So the 49ers offense has gone from number 6, number 7 efficiency. Garoppolo got it to the top 5 there by the end, especially with Christian McCaffrey in the mix. But Purdy has taken this to number 1, period. Number 1 by a mile, period. So that's the fair way to put it. It's been fair. It's been completely unlocked by a QB who's able to overcome the shoddy pass protection. It's a run-first pass protection. So the 49ers focus on being able to establish that running credibility, but they have to have a quarterback who can then operate with his arm behind the line that specializes in run blocking. It's a tricky prospect, right? But Brock Purdy, with his pocket presence, which has improved a lot here over the course of this year, with his release, with his moxie, with his, just arrogance. It's a good kind of arrogance to be able to push the ball downfield. He has unlocked this offense. Do I think Ward should shadow A.J. Brown? We might see a little bit of that next week. But the thing is, Diamond Lenore is playing well. Ambry Thomas is playing well. The 49ers have a weapon in Darrell Luter Jr. now. Samuel Womack is back. His team's a lot stronger on the back end than it was at the start of this season. The 49ers have synergy. That's the thing, synergy. They're all playing, all phases of the game are firing off of each other, playing well. Offense, defense, special teams. They go into Seattle. They outclass Seattle. They eat turkey on the field in Seattle. You could tell that synergy. That was there when those guys were all just chopping it up, eating the turkey there at the end of the game. All right, we're going to get deep into this over the course of today. So stay tuned. Big time 49ers coverage coming. 49ers beat the Seahawks. Make sure to check out my Twitter. Subscribe to The Athletic. It's $1 a month right now for The Athletic. And you could take a look at the article right here. 49ers thump the Seahawks on Thanksgiving. Oh, well, this is a different one. This is also one you should check out. 49ers thump the Seahawks on Thanksgiving. How Christian McCaffrey guided San Francisco's offense. And then I talk about Ayuk and Purdy and all those guys in my other piece. So anyway, I'll toss a link into the description. Why don't you go ahead, check that out. Sub to The Athletic. Look up here. Sub for $1 a month in the upper right. Big time coverage coming today. The 49ers are 8-3. They have surpassed Detroit for that number 2 spot in the NFC. They may have a chance to hop up to number 1. How symbolic would that be in Philadelphia the next time they're out there? But first, some rest for the 49ers. More coverage from us. Talk to you soon.